All right, let's dive into one of the most fundamental things our brains do, learning. We're going to break down how you learn new stuff, and just as important, why sometimes you forget it.
So, have you ever thought about this? It's so weird, right? You can sing along to a song you haven't heard in a decade, but the information you crammed for a test yesterday? Poof, gone. It really gets to the heart of how our brains decide what's worth keeping.
So to get on the same page, let's just quickly define what we're talking about. At its absolute core, learning is just when some kind of experience changes you. It could be a change in how you act, or just a change in what you know. Simple as that.
Now, first up, let's talk about the kind of learning that just sort of happens. The stuff your brain does in the background, totally on autopilot.
A huge chunk of what you learn every day isn't intentional at all. You're not sitting there with a textbook. Your brain is just quietly in the background making connections between things. It's kind of like the brain's default setting.
The first flavor of this automatic learning is something called classical conditioning. This is all about your brain linking two things together, something that meant nothing to you before and something that already gets a reaction out of you. And this is the classic example, right? Pavlov's dogs. So before anything happens, the dog drools when it sees food. That's natural, but it doesn't care about a bell. Then, during the experiment, every time the food comes out, a bell rings. The dog's brain starts building that connection, and pretty soon, all you have to do is ring the bell, and the dog starts drooling. The bell isn't neutral anymore. It now means food is coming.
Okay, so the other side of this autopilot learning is operant conditioning. This one's a little different because it's all about the consequences. Basically, we do something, and what happens next tells our brain whether we should do it again.
And this model breaks it down perfectly. You've got reinforcement, which makes you more likely to do something again. That could be adding something good, like getting a compliment, or taking away something bad, like, say, your mom telling you you don't have to do the dishes. Then you have punishment, which makes you less likely to do it again. It could be adding something bad, like getting yelled at, or taking away something good, like your car keys.
But you know, we're not just a bundle of automatic reflexes. Learning is way more than just bells and treats. There's this whole other level where our brains are actively, consciously involved in the process.
And this slide really nails the difference. That automatic stuff we just talked about, that's associative learning. Super simple. A stimulus comes in, you have a response. But cognitive learning, that adds a huge, game-changing step right in the middle, the mental process. You get some input, your brain chews on it, thinks about it, processes it, and then you get an output.
And this mental process shows up in all kinds of cool ways. For instance, we learn just by watching other people and copying them. That's social learning. Or sometimes we learn stuff and don't even realize it until we need it later, even if there was no reward. That's called latent learning. And my favorite, insight learning. That's that aha moment when the solution to a problem just pops into your head out of nowhere. It's all happening inside that mental black box.
Okay, so now we know the different ways our brain learns. Let's get to the good stuff, the practical part. How can we use this to actually get better at it, to make things stick?
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's not about studying harder. It is all about studying smarter. So what's the secret sauce?
Well, it often comes down to this. On the left, you've got what most of us do, maintenance rehearsal. You just say it over and over and over. And look, it's fine for remembering a phone number for 30 seconds, but for the long haul, it's terrible. The real powerhouse is on the right. Elaborative rehearsal. This is all about connecting new information to stuff you already know. It's about giving it meaning.
So how do you actually do that? It's a pretty simple 3-step recipe. First, figure out what the main idea is. What's the core concept? Second, and this is the absolute key, link it to something you already get. Build a mental bridge from the new stuff to the old stuff. And third, make a picture of it in your head, or come up with your own example. That makes it real, tangible, and so much easier to remember.
Okay, but what about this problem? We have all been there. You learn your new phone number, and suddenly your old one is just gone. This is a super common thing called interference.
And here's the reason why. It's because our brains get kind of confused when we're trying to cram in a bunch of separate, unrelated facts. It's like the wiring gets crossed.
But here is the amazing part. The solution isn't to learn less, it's to connect more. If the new information you're learning is related to the old stuff, if it adds detail or context, it doesn't interfere. In fact, it can make your memory of the original idea even stronger. So the big takeaway is this. Don't just stack up facts like a pile of bricks. Weave them together into a web of knowledge.
And just to wrap up the practical tips, here are a few more quick-fire memory boosters. First, try to make things personal. The self-reference effect is super powerful. If it relates to you, you'll remember it. Second, organize the information. Give it a structure. It creates a mental map that helps you find it later. And third, use imagery. Create a picture in your head. It gives your brain two ways to remember something, the word and the image, which doubles your chances.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, from automatic reflexes to memory hacks. So let's end this whole thing with one last, really big question to chew on.
Think about this for a second. Some scientists and philosophers argue that while your brain can do all that simple association stuff on autopilot, any really deep, meaningful, significant learning, the kind that truly changes how you see the world, might absolutely require your conscious, focused attention. Something to ponder.